So here's looking at you. This is the brew we're brewing today. Just coming out of the fermenter. I've had it in the keg for a couple of days now. It's a great colour and it's quite a nice beer. It's fairly clear for what it is, an ale. So it's really clear for an ale actually. Coming out really well. Very happy with this one. So we're brewing this today and it's Weymouth Pale Ale with a bit of Cara Munich Type 2 malt, some Cara Pils and some Voyager Craft malt. The hops we've used are Magnum to bitter it up with Cascade, Ella and Simcoe. It's coming out a bit darker than I thought it would, but that'd be the biscuit, largely the biscuit, and maybe the Cara Munich, which I've never used. So it's got a really good mouthful because we're using 6.7 today, 67 degrees today in the mash. So I expect a good mouthful. Certainly tastes the biscuit, and the caramel gives it a real maltiness about it that's not evident in a lot of IPAs really. A lot of IPAs are more hop forward than this beer. It's not really a hop forward beer, even though I've used 287 grams of hops with a dry hop in it. It was never meant to be. It wasn't a big dry hop. Overall, quite happy with it. The collar stays nice. The head stays nice. It's a nice drinking beer. It's easy to drink. Nice flavour. And the brew day went pretty well too, I might add. So here's looking at you, folks. It's New Year's Eve here, midday of New Year's Eve, and it looks like I'll be in bed early. I'll be getting some, here's looking at ya, into me. Enjoy your night, be safe. Neil from Magpie Brewing, signing off. Good morning, people from the Magpie Brewery. I thought we'd brew again today. These Guten 70 litre systems and all the Guten systems from Keg King are very easy to program, either auto or manual mode. So to do a manual mode is quite simple. We just go manual. I want 3000 watts, the temperature 67 and the timer, I only want 3000 watts for 1 minute. And then once we get up to temperature, I'll set it for the mash for 67 also. And then you just press start. So there we go. So heating it up, and I'll put the grains in a little earlier, probably about 60 degrees, 61 degrees. Let them sit and soak for a while before we actually start the mash, which is my normal practice. So we'll wait for this to get up to temperature and I'll come back. Okay, we're back. Our strike water's now up to 61 degrees. So we'll put our grains in. As I've said before, or in my other video, I've only done one other brew video, I put the grist in the mash basket, in the grain basket. Then I just let it slowly sink down. I find doing it this way that I don't seem to get dough balls in the mash. So that's why I put them in a bit early, just to give them a bit of soaking time and let them soak. And then I just slowly, I get the pump and I slowly pump. Then I put a bit of water on top of it also. It just helps with the process, but I'm pretty sure you'll be able to see it there. The grains are actually just slowly sinking in. So I don't stir at all during the mash. The only time I'll stir during the mash is if I think I'm getting a stuck mash. So I've got 11 kilo of grain all up here, and I have crushed it. It's fairly coarse, but I think it's a good crush, and because I haven't used this grain before, so instead of just doing a small batch, I thought, no, go the whole lot and see how it goes. I'm pretty sure this is a German grain. Very good name, Weinmann. If you watch a few of my videos, you'll probably notice that I don't get all the words right, and I'm not too worried about that, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. So we just let that settle. Now I'll turn the pump off. And I'll let that settle, and I'll just wait for it to get up to temperature, which it's very close to now. Even during that short time, the system got itself up to 65 degrees. So that's good. So I'll put my thermometer in, and I don't know whether people will see that, but we'll just see what temperature the grain bed is already. And I think, I don't know, it'll be close to 60 degrees. I never worry about the water temperature. It's more the grain bed temperature while you're mashing. That constant, I'm after a constant 60, 67, so the grain beds come pretty much up to temperature now. The grain bed's already up to 65, so that's good enough. I'm doing a 60-minute mash minimum, so what I'll do now is I'll put my top plate on. I do use the top plate, so I'll put the top plate on, and we'll just kick this mash off the 60 minutes. I don't press it down enough to compress the grains. I just get it so that I'm on top of the grain, because the bed is going to push down and compress anyway. So that's about where I want it. I know I'm not going to overflow because I don't mash fast enough. I adjust the pump for that. I just adjust the pump so that I've got about a nice ½ an inch flow going through the grain bed on top of the top plate. You don't need a fast flow. If you got too fast a flow, well, it will go down the overflow, but as long as you got a nice even thin flow on top, you're getting the water through the the grain bed there in the mash at about the right temperature anyway. So I've currently got the pump on half. I can probably go a little bit more, and I probably won't all through the mash. I probably won't go much more than that. So we'll let that mash for about 60 minutes, and I'll do an iodine test just to see what conversion we've got there, and if conversion's good, we'll go to a mash out. So I'll come back to you when it's time for the iodine test. Cheers. We've been going now for 15 minutes. About 15 minutes in the boil. In the mash, sorry. And getting a lovely golden colour, as you can see. Just absolutely beautiful. It smells nice already, and without taking any measurements, I'm thinking the 60-minute mash is going to be perfect. As you can see, my flow is not that quick. It's just a nice flow. It's about a bit over half. So yeah, so far so good. And as you can see also, I'm just up to the where you grip to take top plate off, so I'm not flowing it really quickly through the bed. I've just got a really nice layer going down through the bed there, so quite liking it so far. So I said after the mash I was going to do a iodine test. Now I've got iodine tincture, which I think is going to work the same way as an iodine test. So I've got 25 minutes left in the mash of 60 minutes, so 35 minutes in. I'm just going to do a test. As I say, I've never used this Weyermann Pale Ale grain before, along with Voyager biscuit. I've got Weyermann Cara Munich, and also Carapils. So let's see how our conversion's going. I'm just going to add 2 or 3 drops. Give it a stir. And very, very nearly done. Alright then, we've come to the end of the mash, and we'll just see if that conversion changed. I thought it was pretty good the first time I showed it, but we'll just have another look at it. It's now like the 60 minutes. Just put a couple of drops in. 4 drops. Swirl him around a bit. Yeah, look, it might have lightened up a little bit. I'm not sure. It probably has. Overall, I'm thinking good conversion. Mash out's now over, so I'll lift the grain basket out. One of the beauties of the Guten, the Keck King Guten 770 litre system, it's got 3 steps to be able to get it out. So even though there's 11 kilo of dry grain in there, grist, probably equates to about another nearly 11 kilos of grain in there. So you know, you're looking at 20 kilos to lift. I'm by myself, so hopefully we can show you how easy it is to do it by one person using the 3 steps. I've got a canoe hanging up there, so I don't make it that easy for myself, but anyway, here we go. Slowly. Step 1. So as you can see, step 1 is not that high. The second step is not that much higher. Now what I do, I turn the basket as I lift. So second step, quite easy. We'll let it sit there for a while. Drain a little. Makes it easy if you let it drain a little. And let's get it up. And there we go. So that is so much easier than having to lift that grain basket, what, 40 centimetres, 45 centimetres in one hit while it's draining at the same time. So I just let that drain a fair bit now. I'll let it drain out a fair bit and then I'll begin my sparge. So the old Guten 40 litre system, really good system. I brewed some good beers on that fella. Anyway, I find it really good because I'm sparging up to 20 litres most times, 30 litres. So it's a really good hot water heating system for me, and I can pump out onto the sparge. So I'll get that underway. It's no, a sparge is a sparge. I don't do it really quickly. I give it a bit of time. And then about halfway through the sparge, I'll set the machine to start the boil. And we'll let it boil up. Take a reading and let it boil up. For those people, when I bought the Guten system, I bought the package that had the false bottom, which I might add, I'm not using the false bottom today. I just want to see what the boil's like without the false bottom. And I must admit the mash, the pump, was a lot freer. And it was good. But anyway, but with the kit that I got the Whirlpool arm. Also got the gloves. Gloves are really long gloves. And they'll be very useful now because I've got to hang on to this tubing that I've got when I pump out and do the sparge. So they're going to be handy for that. Okay, we've just started the boil. So you can see there I've gathered a lot of foam on top. It started to foam up. I just stir through it. But I always have my sanitizer bottle close by to save a boil over. I don't use any chemicals or whatever. I just stir it through. Then eventually it'll settle down by stirring it. If it doesn't settle down, you just get your sanitizer or water even, and you just spray the top of it. But normally it'll settle down just by doing this, just by stirring through. It's just the initial part of the boil. It's the same when you're doing a starter, a yeast starter, and you boil your DME. So you just keep an eye on it, and as you can see, that's breaking up nicely there now. And then once this settles down, I mean, this is a 75-minute boil, so once this settles down, you're quite free to walk around, go to the shops, go and crack a beer, do whatever you need to do. But as you can see, like, that's settled down nicely. I've got a really good boil going here too. It's a better boil than I had on my first brew, the Golden Ale brew. It's still a nice rolling boil. It just has more vigour, and the only real difference is that I haven't used the false bottom this brew. And the reason I didn't use it is because I use a hop spider, and so after the last brew, I mean, the false bottom, it was a waste of time having it in there. I suppose if I put my hops straight in the kettle, yeah, certainly they're worth it. But there was nothing on top of it, and I just thought it's something extra you got to clean. And that's a really nice boil we got happening there. It's beautiful colour, this this beer. It's on the darker side, but then I have got the biscuit and the caramunic in it. It's just a nice colour. So pre-boil, I was going to show you the refractometer, but I couldn't get it. So after the mash, I was 1.065 on the refract. After the mash out and sparge, I was just under the numbers. 2 points, and I mean 2 points is nothing. I'm not huge on numbers. I do like to hit them like everyone else. There you go. That's settled down beautifully now. That'll just tick away and boil. So yeah, so I missed the numbers by 2. So okay guys, it's still boiling along just nicely. As you can see, I'm down to the last of my Magnum. It's grey bittering hot Magnum. I use a lot of it, so a bit of this is going to get through to the bottom. But anyway, in she goes. Just break it up a little bit, give it a stir. I'm using Brewer's Friend. You can hear at the background there is a timer today because I'm doing the brew manually. Okay, we're back. Got 20 minutes to go in the boil. Boil's been nice. It's been sitting on 101 or 2 degrees there all the time. So now we got 20 grams of Cascade at 20 minutes. And there it goes there. So we'll just put that in the hop spider. I'm still a bit of a fan of these 30 and 20 minute additions of the hops. I do believe they add some, especially when you make a hoppy beer, the flavour and that. So yeah, I still include them in most of my recipes in some amount. Not my lagers or Kolsch's and things like that. That's normally one bittering addition at the start of the boil, and then maybe a 0 or 5 minute a 0 the end of the boil on most of them. So I've got 20 grams of Cascade, 20 grams of Ella, and 25 grams of Simcoe, and we'll put that in the boil at 10 minutes. And we will also add our whirlflock. Sometimes I put yeast nutrients in, sometimes I don't. Today I'm not. I don't know, there's no reason I'm not. I've been oxygenating the wort more when I put the yeast in, and I've found, you know, I'm getting pretty good figures, an attenuation with the yeast. I've sort of stopped using the yeast supplement at 10 minutes, and I'll see how it goes with this one. I think it'll be pretty good. So there we go, we got our whirlflock in to try and give us a nice clear beer when we finish. I do cold crash after fermentation. Put a few more hops in, and the next lot of hops will go in at 80, I'll put them in about 82 degrees. I'll do a whirlpool. I'll do a whirlpool for about probably 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, but those hops, I was tempted to throw them in naked, but I think I'll put them in the hop spider. They'll be okay in there with the whirlpool. They'll still get their flavours through the wort. So we've hit the end of the boil now, and now I'm going to do a whirlpool at 80 degrees. So I've got this counterflow cheddar set up here, and I'll just recirculate through that until I get to 80. Then I'll put them hops in, let it go for 15 minutes, and then put it straight into the fermenters. I'll come back to you when I've done that. So there we are, it's going in fairly slowly, but into the fermenter, so I should get 22.5 to 23 litres in each fermenter. Got two fermenters there, both stainless steel, Keg King stainless steel conical fermenters. I don't put it in real quick, I'm more interested in the temperature. So there we go, I know it's upside down, but it's sitting on 23 into the fermenter, and that's really good. By the time I'm finished it, that's pitching temperature 22, 23. I fermented 18. It will come down as the temperature comes down, and it'll end up going in there at about 22 overall, so quite happy with that. And I'll be using Verdant IPA yeast in one and Windsor yeast in the other, which is really an English ale yeast, and I just want to see how it goes with this fairly hoppy beer. So I'll see you at the, we'll get it in some kegs and we'll give it a taste.